I am staring at something right now that should terrify every single American who still believes in the rule of law. And I don't just say that lightly. I've been doing this long enough to know when something crosses the line from political maneuvering into something far more dangerous. What I'm seeing isn't just another Trump legal battle. What I'm watching is the systematic cover-up of classified document theft, obstruction of justice, and possibly espionage, all being orchestrated by a corrupt judge, a complicit Department of Justice, and a president who is acting more like a mob boss than a public servant. Trump just rushed to federal court. Again. But this time, it is not to delay another trial or attack another prosecutor. This time, he is desperate to silence Jack Smith, to bury Volume 2 of the Special Counsel report, and to make sure the American people never find out what he really did with those classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. And here's what keeps me up at night. It's working. Let me back up for a second, because if you've been following this story, you know it's complicated. But the core of it is simple, and it's damning. Donald Trump took classified documents when he left the White House. Not a few documents, hundreds of them. Some of the most sensitive intelligence our country possesses. Documents about nuclear capabilities, military operations, intelligence sources, the kind of information that, in the wrong hands, could get people killed. When the National Archives asked for them back, he lied. When the FBI subpoenaed them, he hid them. When they finally got a search warrant and went to Mar-a-Lago, they found boxes of classified material stashed in a bathroom, a ballroom, his office. We saw the photos, classified documents next to toilets, and that is just what we know about publicly. Jack Smith was appointed as special counsel to investigate, and from what we can piece together from the portions of his report that have been released, what Smith found was even worse than we thought. Volume 1 of his report, which dealt with January 6th, was damning enough. But Volume 2, the part about the classified documents, that what they hiding, that what Trump and his lawyers and Judge Eileen Cannon and now Pam Bondi as Department of Justice are moving heaven and earth to keep from the American people. And here where it gets truly Orwellian. Trump's own Department of Justice, the institution that's supposed to pursue justice regardless of politics, is now arguing that Jack Smith's report should remain sealed. They were claiming it as internal, deliberative material. They were saying the American people don't have a right to know what their former and current president did with classified intelligence. Think about that for a second. The same DOJ that Trump installed, the same DOJ led by Pam Bondi, who was literally Trump's personal defense lawyer, is now blocking the release of evidence about Trump's crimes. It is not even subtle. It is corruption in broad daylight. And the judge overseeing this? Eileen Cannon, a Trump appointee who's been running interference for him from day one. She asked the judge who initially ruled that Trump could have a special master review the documents, a decision so legally absurd that even the conservative 11th Circuit had to slap it down. She asked the judge who dismissed the entire case against Trump on the grounds that Jack Smith wasn't properly appointed, ignoring decades of legal precedent. And now she asked the judge deciding whether Volume 2 of Smith's report should see the light of day. I want you to understand something. This isn't a normal judicial skepticism. This isn't a judge being careful about executive privilege or national security. This is a judge who's been systematically obstructing justice to protect one man. And the evidence is overwhelming. Let me read you what Jack Smith actually found based on the limited information that has been made public. Trump didn't just take these documents, he showed them to people. There is a recording, an audio tape where Trump is bragging to a group of people at his Bedminster Golf Club about having classified documents about Iran. You can hear him on the tape saying he'd like to show them to the people in the room, but he can't because they were classified, which means Trump knew they were classified. He admitted it on tape. There are also reports that Trump showed classified military plans to an Australian billionaire, documents about U.S. submarine capabilities, the kind of information that, if it got to China or Russia, would compromise our entire Pacific defense strategy. Think about that. Trump was showing off classified intelligence like it was a trading card collection. And here's the thing that really gets me. We know he obstructed the investigation. We have testimony from his own lawyers that Trump told them to hide documents from the FBI. We have surveillance footage from Mar-a-Lago showing his employees moving boxes of classified material before the FBI search. We have testimony that Trump wanted his lawyer to lie to the FBI about what documents he still had. All of this is documented. All of this is evidence, and it's all being suppressed. Now, I've been reading through the comments on this story, and I want to talk about what I am seeing because it's revealing. About 60% of the comments express absolute fury at this corruption. They see what's happening. They understand that we are watching a cover-up in real time. But there's also about 20% who are defending Trump, saying this is all political persecution, saying Jack Smith is the real criminal. And then there's another 20% who are just exhausted. They tired of hearing about Trump's legal problems. They want it to go away. And I get that. I really do. I am tired too. But here's what I need those people to understand. This isn't going away, and your exhaustion is exactly what they are counting on. Because that's the strategy. Delay, obstruct, exhaust. Keep fighting every subpoena, every court order, every attempt at accountability until people stop paying attention, until the outrage fatigue sets in and everyone just wants to move on. That's how authoritarians win. Not through dramatic coups, but through the slow erosion of norms and laws until nobody has the energy to fight back anymore. One commenter wrote something that really stuck with me. They said, if Hillary Clinton had done 1% of what Trump did with classified documents, she'd be in prison right now. And they rewrite, if any regular person, any military member, any government employee had taken classified documents home, lied about it, refused to return them, and showed them to unauthorized people, they'd be in federal prison immediately. But Trump gets to run for president again. Trump gets to install his own attorney general who shuts down the investigation. Trump gets a judge who acts more like his defense lawyer than an impartial arbiter. The two-tier justice system isn't a conspiracy theory. It's what we're rewatching play out in real time. Now let me tell you what I think is really in Volume 2. And I want to be clear, this is my analysis based on the available evidence. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I believe Volume 2 contains evidence that Trump didn't just take these documents for his ego. I believe there's evidence he intended to use them, maybe to sell them, maybe to trade them for business deals, maybe just to show them off to impress people. But the pattern of behavior, the specific documents he took, the way he obstructed their return, all of it suggests intent beyond just hoarding. Think about what we know. Trump took documents about nuclear weapons, about intelligence sources and methods, about military contingency plans. These aren't the kinds of documents you take because you want souvenirs from your presidency. These are the kinds of documents that have value to foreign adversaries. And we know Trump has business interests all over the world. We know he has been trying to build Trump Tower Moscow for years. We know he has been courting Saudi investment. We know he owes hundreds of millions of dollars to entities we can fully identify. Is it really that far-fetched to think he might have seen those classified documents as leverage, as bargaining chips? I'm not saying I can prove Trump sold classified intelligence to foreign governments. What I am saying is that Jack Smith's investigation likely explored that possibility, and whatever he found, it is bad enough that Trump is pulling out all the stops to keep it buried. Here's what really disturbs me about the Department of Justice's current position. They are not even pretending to care about justice anymore. Pam Bondi stood up and said that Jack Smith was improperly appointed, that his investigation was illegitimate from the start. She's using the same discredited legal theory that Aileen Cannon used to dismiss the case. But here's the thing. Jack Smith was appointed using the exact same legal authority that has been used to appoint special counsels for decades. The same authority used to appoint the special counsel who investigated Bill Clinton. The same authority used to appoint the special counsel who investigated Hunter Biden. It is only now, when the investigation threatens Trump, that suddenly this authority is questioned. And Jim Jordan, because I can talk about this without mentioning Jim Jordan, he's up there in Congress saying Jack Smith weaponized the DOJ. Jim Jordan, who protected a sexual predator when he was a wrestling coach at Ohio State, who's been credibly accused of enabling abuse, he's lecturing us about weaponization of justice. The irony would be funny if it wasn't so nauseating. Jordan doesn't want Jack Smith to testify because he knows what Smith would say. Smith would lay out the evidence. He'd explain exactly what Trump did, how he obstructed justice, and why it matters. And that testimony would make it impossible for the GOP to continue their cover-up. So instead, they reclaiming that Smith's testimony would violate DOJ policy. They re-saying he can discuss internal deliberations. But Smith's investigation is complete. The case is closed. There's no ongoing prosecution to protect. The only thing they are protecting is Trump. Let me tell you something else that I noticed in the comments that I think is crucial. There are people saying if there is nothing to hide, why not release the files? If Trump is innocent, why fight so hard to keep this information from the public? And they absolutely right to ask that question, because innocence doesn't require cover-ups. Innocence doesn't require corrupt judges and complicit attorneys' general and congressional interference. If Trump really did nothing wrong, he should be demanding that Volume 2 be released. He should want Jack Smith to testify. He should want the American people to see that he was falsely accused. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is a desperate, multi-front legal battle to suppress evidence. And the only reason you fight that hard to suppress evidence is because the evidence is damning. Now, I want to talk about Aileen Cannon for a minute because her role in this cannot be overstated. This judge has done more to obstruct justice than any single person in this entire saga besides Trump himself. And the question we should all be asking is, why? Cannon was appointed by Trump in his final weeks in office. She had virtually no trial experience. The American Bar Association rated her as not qualified. But Trump put her on the bench anyway, and now she is repaying the favor. Every ruling she has made in this case has benefited Trump. Every delay she has granted has helped him run out the clock. Every legal theory she has embraced, no matter how fringe, has shielded him from accountability. The 11th Circuit, her own appeals court, has overruled her multiple times because her decisions were so obviously biased. But here's the thing that should scare everyone. Cannon isn't going anywhere. She is a federal judge with lifetime tenure. Unless she is impeached, and let's just be honest, this Republican Congress isn't going to impeach a judge who is protecting Trump, she can continue to obstruct justice for decades. And what does that mean? It means that even if Trump is eventually charged again, even if a future Department of Justice tries to hold him accountable, Cannon could be assigned to the case again. She could dismiss it again. She could delay it until Trump dies of old age. That is not a justice system. That's a joke. That's a system that's been corrupted beyond recognition. I keep thinking about what one commenter said. They said the Constitution was designed for people of honor, and we don't have those anymore. And I think that's exactly right. The founders created a system of checks and balances that assumed people in power would have some baseline commitment to the rule of law. They never imagined a president who would actively work to dismantle those checks. They never imagined a political party that would choose power over principle at every turn. And so here we are, with a president who has stolen classified documents, obstructed justice, and possibly committed espionage, all being protected by his own appointees in the courts and the Department of Justice, with a Congress that is either complicit or impotent, with a Supreme Court that is granted him immunity for official acts, which he is now using as a shield for everything. The system is broken, and I don't know how we fix it, but here's what I do know. We can give up. We can let exhaustion win, because that's what they want. They want us to be so tired, so overwhelmed by the constant assault on truth and justice that we just stop fighting. And I'll be honest with you, there are days when I feel that exhaustion. There are days when I read another story about Cannon blocking evidence or Bondi protecting Trump or Jordan running interference, and I just want to throw my hands up and say, what's the point? But then I remember what is at stake. I remember that this isn't just about Trump. It's about whether we are a nation of laws or a nation where the powerful can do whatever they want without consequences. It's about whether future presidents will be constrained by the Constitution or empowered to act like kings. And it's about those classified documents, the ones that detailed our nuclear capabilities, our intelligence sources, our military strategies, the ones that Trump took and refused to return and showed to random people at his golf club. Because every day those documents remain unaccounted for, every day we don't know if Trump copied them or who he showed them to or what damage has been done, American national security is compromised. That's not hyperbole. That's not political rhetoric. That's the reality of what Trump did. And the cover-up, the fact that they re-hiding Volume 2, suggests the damage is even worse than we know. So what do we do? What can we do when the justice system has been captured by the very people it is supposed to hold accountable? First, we keep pressure on. We keep talking about this. We don't let it disappear into the background noise. Every time Cannon makes another corrupt ruling, we call it out. Every time Bondi shields Trump from accountability, we document it. Every time Jordan lies about weaponization while actually weaponizing Congress to protect a criminal, we expose it. Second, we vote. I know that sounds basic, but it matters. The midterms are coming. If Democrats can take back the House, Jim Jordan loses his chairmanship. Suddenly, Jack Smith could be invited to testify before a committee that actually wants to hear the truth. Suddenly, impeachment becomes a real possibility again, not just for Trump, but for Cannon and other corrupt judges. Third, we support independent journalism and legal analysis. The mainstream media is already moving on from this story. They're retreating it like just another Trump controversy in a long line of controversies. But it's not. It is an ongoing assault on the rule of law, and we need people who will keep investigating, keep reporting, keep holding power accountable. And fourth, and this is important, we done to let them rewrite history. They going to try. They going to say Trump was exonerated. They going to say the classified documents case was political persecution. They going to say Jack Smith was a rogue prosecutor who exceeded his authority. None of that is true. And we have to preserve the truth. We have to make sure that when people look back at this moment in history, they understand what really happened. Trump stole classified documents. He obstructed justice. He endangered national security. And a corrupt judge and a compliant Department of Justice helped him get away with it. That is the truth. And no amount of legal maneuvering or political spin can change it. Now, I want to address something that came up in the comments that I think is worth discussing. A lot of people are saying, why hasn't anyone leaked Volume 2? Why hasn't some patriot inside the DOJ or the FBI just released it to the press? And I understand that frustration. I feel it too. But here is the reality. Whoever leaks that report would be committing a federal crime. They to be prosecuted. They'd probably go to prison. And their sacrifice might not even accomplish anything if the media doesn't cover it or if the public has already tuned out. That said, I don't think Volume 2 stays buried forever. Someone, somewhere, has a copy. And when Trump is finally out of power, when there is a DOJ that actually cares about justice, I believe we'll see it. The question is whether that happens in time to matter, because here's my biggest fear. Trump is 77 years old. He's overweight, he is under enormous stress, and frankly, he doesn't look healthy. There's a real possibility he doesn't live long enough to face accountability for what he has done. And if he dies before justice catches up with him, his supporters will claim he was vindicated. They'll turn him into a martyr. They'll say the deep state persecuted an innocent man. And that narrative, that lie, will poison American politics for generations. That's why this matters now. That's why we can wait. That's why every delay, every obstruction, every corrupt ruling from Cannon or interference from Bondi or cover-up from Jordan is so damaging. Because time is Trump's greatest ally, and justice delayed is justice denied. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I am watching this case. I am documenting every development. And when the history of this moment is written, I want to make sure the truth is preserved. Trump stole classified documents. The evidence is overwhelming. And the only reason he's not in prison is because the system has been corrupted by the very people who are supposed to uphold it. I also want to say something to the MAGA supporters who might be watching this. I know you think I am biased. I know you think this is just another liberal attack on Trump. But I am asking you to think critically for a moment. If Barack Obama had taken classified documents about nuclear weapons and stored them in a bathroom at his personal residence, would you be okay with that? If Hillary Clinton had shown classified military plans to foreign business people at her golf club, would you say that was fine? If Joe Biden had lied to the FBI about returning classified documents and had his lawyers hide boxes of intelligence from investigators, would you defend that? I don't think you would. I think you'd be outraged. I think you'd demand accountability. And the only reason you not outraged now is because it's your guy. But that is tribalism, not principle. And tribalism is going to destroy this country if we let it. The rule of law has to mean something. It has to apply to everyone, or it doesn't apply to anyone. And if you're okay with Trump escaping accountability because he is on your team, then you are not defending conservatism or America First or whatever you think you are defending. You are defending corruption. And that corruption will eventually come back to hurt you too. Because here's the thing about authoritarian systems. They regrate when your guy is in charge. But what happens when the other side takes power and decides to use the same playbook? What happens when a future Democratic president says, well, Trump got away with it, so I can too? What happens when the next president decides that laws don't apply to them because we established that presidents are above the law, that as the precedent we resetting? And it terrifies me. I want to end with this. I still have hope. I know that sounds naive given everything I've just laid out, but I do. Because I've seen what happens when enough people decide they are not going to accept corruption. I've seen grassroots movements force change. I've seen public pressure make the impossible possible. And I believe the American people are better than this. I believe that most Americans, regardless of their politics, want a justice system that works. They want leaders who are held accountable. They want a country where the rule of law actually means something. The question is whether we can organize that majority before it's too late. Whether we can overcome the exhaustion and the cynicism and the tribalism and actually demand better from our institutions. I don't have all the answers. I don't know exactly how we get from here to a place where Trump faces justice for what he did. But I know the first step is refusing to accept this as normal, refusing to let them memory hole the classified documents case, refusing to pretend that Cannon is an impartial judge or that Bondi is an honest attorney general or that Jordan is anything other than a corrupt enabler. We have to keep the pressure on. We have to keep telling the truth. And we have to make sure that when this is all over, however it ends, people understand what happened here. Donald Trump stole classified documents. He obstructed justice. He endangered national security. And a corrupt system let him get away with it. That's the truth. Remember it, document it, and Donda let them rewrite it. Because if we lose the truth,